Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti, and if you don't know, I'm the face, the voice, and the hands behind all the content here under Infiniti Crafting Co., as well as the blog site InfinityCraftingCompany.com. Today I am back with episode 2 of my ugly Christmas sweater crochet design along. That is a mouthful. Since I had to end up re-rendering my video, I figured I might as well come on and redo the intro, so here I am. I hope you guys are as excited as I am for today's video. This segment will cover seaming up the side of the sweater, as well as creating the sleeves and attaching those sleeves to the armholes that we will prepare. Last time we just did the front and back panels, and we seamed together the shoulders. If you haven't seen part 1, I will leave it linked in the top comment below so that you can follow along with this fun project of mine here. So before we get into the tutorial, I want to make mention, if you are making a larger size, apparently you will end up playing a very unfortunate game of yarn chicken with your predominant color. For me, that was red as my most used color, my most evident color apparently. Fortunately, because Infiniti always designs these outlandish projects, I happen to have extra red sparkly yarn on my shelf, and I was so happy because I didn't want to have to go back to the store and buy more yarn and edit lists and things like that. So if you are making a larger size, just keep that in mind. So I did end up cracking open a 4th skein of red for this process, but I was able to get both my sleeves done, and I was able to seam my project with the red yarn and sew on the sleeves. So a lot was accomplished there. I just wanted to make mention of that. Without further ado, we are going to jump into the tutorial. First, we are going to start making the sleeves, and then I'll show you guys how to seam up the sides and how to prepare the armhole, because it's going to be way too big if you haven't realized that already about your sweater panels. So I'm going to stop rambling. Without further ado, we're just going to jump in to this tutorial. Alright, to begin with our sleeve, we want to start off with a slip knot, and we are going to chain 1. I start off with this part because it takes the longest to complete. We are going to make a chain of 36. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 34, 35, and 36. Now we are going to make sure that our chain is not twisted, and we are going to join this row with a slip knot to the first chain. I like to be extra thorough with these because I have experience with twisting my chain, and it is not fun. Alright, now that we have joined our round with a slip stitch, we are going to chain up 2. And here I am actually chaining up 2. It's just simpler for this first round. And what we're going to do is we are going to double crochet in each chain around. So I'm going to take my tail and pull on it a little bit, because sometimes that first stitch looks like an additional stitch, but it's actually, we've actually just worked into it with this chain too. Alright, so I'm going to look at this next guy right here, and I'm going to double crochet into that. And I'm also going to weave my end in as I go along. As I worked on the other sleeve, that seemed to work out pretty good for me, so I'm going to continue that over here. So I'm going to complete my entire row, my entire round of double crochet, and I'll meet you guys back when I am ready to move on to row 2. Alright, now I'm coming to the end of my round. I have 1 or 2 stitches left here. But what I wanted to address is sometimes when you work on a foundation chain, you will end up with the inside of your work on the outside. So make sure you're paying attention to how your stitches look. As you guys can see, currently my inside of my work is facing me. It's on the outside, so I just want to make that flip so that it's no longer doing that. Alright, and now I'm going to make my last stitches of the round. Oops. 1, and do a slight recount here. Alright, I have 36 stitches, and now I am going to slip stitch into the first stitch from my round. And what I like to do here is, again, my alternative chaining method. So I insert my hook into the top of that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop as though to single crochet, and I'm going to insert my hook into that left leg of that single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, so I have 2 loops on my hook. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops, and I have my chain 2 here. Now to move on to round 2, I am going to go ahead and make a front post double crochet around this next stitch. Then around the next stitch, I'm going to make a back post double crochet. Alright, and that is my repeat for this round. Just alternating front post double crochet and back post double crochet all the way around this cuff. Alright, and now I am simply going to close this row by slip stitching into the top of that chain 2 from the previous row. Alright, and then I'm going to chain up 2 for my next round. So for rounds 3 through 7, we are going to repeat what we just did for round 2. So we are going to create a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we are going to back post double crochet around the next stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around until we reach round 7. Now this is one of those cases where I like stitch marks, because I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to counting crochet ribbing rows, sometimes it gets a little confusing, and though over the years I've become pretty good at it, sometimes you just don't want to have to put in that kind of effort when you can avoid it. So I'm going to snap my little stitch marker in there, and now I know that this is my round 3, and I'm going to continue to crochet until I have my 7 rounds on my cuff, and I'll meet you guys back then. Alright, I have done all 7 of my rounds of front post, back post, and I have already chained 2 so that I can begin working on round 8. So for round 8, like I said, you want to chain your 2, and then you want to make a front post double crochet around the next stitch. Then you want to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. Oops. Alright, and now in the next stitch, so in the top of this next front post double crochet, we are going to make 7 double crochet. So I'm going to be working into the stitch as normal and creating 7 double crochet. 2, 3, I always like to do those quick recounts because if you are missing stitches in this pattern, you will definitely know, and it will be at a point where you'd have to rip back like 2 rows. So it's better safe than sorry here. Alright, now begins our repeat for the row. We are going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. We are going to make a front post double crochet around the next stitch. We're going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And then in that next front post double crochet, we are going to make 7 double crochet. Right, and those are my 7 stitches. And we're going to continue this pattern, making a back post double crochet in the next stitch, front post double crochet around the next stitch, back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we're back at another front post double crochet where we will be making 7 stitches into that. I'm going to continue this pattern all the way around, and I'll meet you guys back when I reach the end of the row to show you guys what to do next. Alright, I have reached the end of my row. And now what I'm going to do is slip stitch on top of the chain 2 from the previous row and chain 2. Alright, now we're ready to move on to round 9. We are going to make a front post double crochet around the next stitch. We're going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. Now what we want to do is make a front post double crochet around each of the next 7 stitches. I'm going to yarn over. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Alright, and now we are going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. This begins our repeat. We're going to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch. We're going to do a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And then again, we are here at our 7 double crochets, so we're going to create 1 front post double crochet around each of the next 7 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and And we're going to continue doing this all the way around this row, and I'll meet you guys back when I reach the end of the row. Alright, and we are reaching the end of round 9. As you guys can see, I placed a little stitch marker here at the top of my chain too, because sometimes as you continue to build these rows, things get lost and you end up working in a spiral. So to avoid that, I like to put a little marker at the beginning of my row so I know where to stop. Alright, and I'm just going to work into that chain 2 with a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain up 2. Right, and round 10 is a repeat of round 9, so we are going to do the exact same thing that we just did, and I'll meet you guys back here for round 11. Alrighty, and I am here at the end of round 10. I'm going to close my round with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 2 from the previous round, and I'm going to chain 2 so that we can move on to round 11. Just going to replace my stitch marker here. Alright, now what we want to do is work a front post double crochet in the next stitch. We're gonna work a back post double crochet around the next stitch. Alright, and then this next part is super fun because we are going to be doing 7 front post double crochet together. Alright, so I'm gonna zoom in for you guys. What we're gonna do is we're gonna yarn over and start to create our first front post double crochet. We're not going to complete it. Instead, we're going to yarn over and start working our next front post double crochet. And we're going to do this across all 7 front post double crochets from the previous round, and we should end up with 8 loops on our crochet hook. Working that last guy there. I'm going to now yarn over and pull through all 8 loops on my hook, working slowly so I don't snag anything, and then I'm going to chain 1. And this has created our first bobble for this sleeve. Now we get to start our repeat, so we are going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. We're going to front post double crochet around the next stitch. And then we are going to back post double crochet around that next stitch. Okay, and now we are back at our next little section here where we are going to do 7 front post double crochets together. And I'm just going to pull out my yarn here because I'm at the end of a skein. and 7. I now have 8 loops on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 8 loops on my hook, and I will chain 1 to secure it. Okay? And now I'm going to repeat that process of back post, front post, back post, and then 7 double crochet together all the way around until I get back to the beginning of my row, and I'll meet you guys back then. Okay, so I just finished my last bobble. I'm going to chain that 1, and then I'm going to work in my last 2 stitches, continuing my pattern. So I'm going to back post, double crochet in this next one. Oops. And front post, double crochet around the last stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 2 from the previous row. I'm going to chain 2 so we can move on to round 12. For round 12, what I'm going to do is make 1 front post double crochet around the next stitch. Gonna make a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And then I'm going to come over and look at this bobble guy here. I'm going to do a front post double crochet around this bobble here at the top. The pattern will say around the 7 front post double crochet together from the previous row. Alright. And now I'm going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch, a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And here we are again at another bobble. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure you guys can see this. And we are going to make a front post double crochet around the bobble, top of the bobble stitch up here, aka the 7 front post double crochet together from the previous row. Alright, and that is our pattern until we get to the end of this round. So I'm going to continue this, and I'll meet you guys back when I reach the end. Alright, I'm right here at the end of my row, and before I join this row with a slip stitch, what I want to do is come in here and kind of pull this apart. This last stitch that we just did our front post double crochet around, I want to go into that stitch and make 4 double crochets. So, kind of wiggle my hook in there. There we go. And make 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, and a 4th double crochet. Alright, and then I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 2 from the previous row and chain up 2. So that right there was making an increase, and that's how each level of this sleeve will increase, is this 4 stitches at the end of our 12th rounds. Okay, so Now I'm going to move on to round 13. Oops. And chain up 2. Alright, and so for round 13, we're going to switch things up a little bit. So for our previous set of bobbles, we had everything going in a straight line. Now we want to create this staggered offset look for our next round of bobbles. So we are going to look at this first front post double crochet of the row, and we're going to make 7 double crochet into that stitch. Six and 7. Alright, now we're going to back post double crochet around the next stitch. And we are going to front post around the next stitch. Okay, then we're going to make another back post double crochet around the next stitch. And then here we're at another front post double crochet that is lined up between the bobbles from the previous row. And in that we are going to make 7 double crochet. So insert your hook as normal and make 7 double crochet. And 7. Alright, and we will continue in this way until we get to the final 4 stitches of the round. Alright, I am back, and I'm right here at the last 4 stitches of my round. As you can see, I placed 7 double crochet into that last stitch. Previously it was the last stitch of my round. It was a front post double crochet. I put 7 of those double crochets in there, and now I can go back to my pattern of 1 back post double crochet around the next stitch, 1 front post double crochet around the next stitch, 1 back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then I'm going to create a front post double crochet around this very last stitch. Okay, and now I can close my round with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 2 from the beginning of the row. Alright, I'm going to chain 2. Alright, now on to row 14. Just going to move my stitch marker up here. For round 14, we are going to make a front post double crochet around each of the next 7 stitches. Alright, now what I'm going to do is place a back post double crochet around the next stitch, a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and another back post double crochet around the next stitch. And now I am ready to start my row repeat of placing a front post double crochet around each of the next 7 stitches. And 7. Alright, and then we are going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch, make a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And we are going to do this all the way around until we reach the end of our row. Alright, now on to the next row. For round 15, we are going to repeat what we just did for round 14. So you're going to chain up your 2, and you are going to come over and you are going to create a front post double crochet around each of the next 7 stitches. Alright, now you're going to create a back post double crochet around the next stitch, a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and a back post double crochet around the next stitch. And then you get back into the 7 front post double crochets around each pod, and I'll meet you guys back for round 16. Alright, and we are back for round 16. So round 16, what you want to do is chain up 2, which I've already done. And what we're going to do is go ahead and close up the top of our little baubles here. So we are going to do another round of 7 front post double crochet together. That is a mouthful. So again, that is inserting your hook around the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Do not complete that double crochet. Instead, you're going to start another one. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And you're going to continue doing this across all 7 stitches. You should have 8 loops on your hook at the end of this process. Alright. Making my last one. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 8 loops on my hook and chain 1 to secure it. And there is my first bauble of this round. Now I'm going to make a back post double crochet around the next stitch, a front post double crochet around the next stitch, and a back post double crochet around the next stitch. Alright, and now I'm going to do another round of 7 front post double crochet together. And this is the repeat for round 16. So I'm going to continue doing this all the way around, and I'll meet you guys back at the end of the row. Alright, I'm at the end of my round, and I'm just finishing off with my pattern of back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post, and front post. Alright, and now you can slip stitch to the chain 2 at the beginning of the row. Alright, and now we're ready to start the process all over again to create another round of our baubles. And in total we're going to make 5 rows of these baubles. Zoom out just a little bit. The first sleeve, which I'll show you guys in a sec here, I started off with the green color, and I made 5 rows of those, and then I finished it off in the sparkly red color, but I'll get to that later on in the video. Now what we want to do for round 17 is, after we've made our chain 2, we are going to start making our posts again. So I want to start this off by making a front post double crochet around this 7 double crochet together from the previous row. Alright, and then I can make a back post double crochet around the next stitch, front post double crochet around the next stitch, back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we are going to front post double crochet around this bauble from the previous row. And that is our repeat for this row. And I'll meet you guys back when we get to these last 4 stitches of our round. Alright, in these last few stitches of my round, I am going to start my repeat of back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, and in this last stitch, this front post double crochet right here, I'm going to make 4 double crochet, so in the stitch, and there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to close this round with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 2 from the beginning of the row, and I'm going to chain up 2. So now what I want to do is continue repeating rows similar to rounds 2 through 18 until I have 5 rows of these baubles, and I'll meet you guys back when I'm actually at round 30. Each of these baubles takes about 5 rows to create, so I'll meet you guys then. Alright, I am back now that I have completed my 5 rows of baubles, and as you can see, the sleeve is progressively V'ing out in that wonderful shape that the other one was. So now that I am at the end of this final round, I want to change my color to the sparkly red that we have been working with. So I'm just going to make a little loop here and finish off this last double crochet of this round. Oops. With that, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 2 from the previous row. Now when it comes to color change, often I will do an actual slip stitch just because I feel like it's more secure than the other method. Alright, now I'm going to chain up 2, replace my stitch marker here, and I'm going to continue my pattern until I achieve 4 rows of red bobbles. Alright guys, so here is my nearly completed sleeve. I love this. It looks like a Christmas tree. So after you finish your 9th round of bobbles here and you join the row, you're going to chain up 3. Oops. Do my 3rd chain here. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you are going to continue the front post, back post pattern all the way around. We're going to be working with front post, back post double crochets as we have throughout the entire pattern. And we're just going to follow that all the way around, and this will give us the row that we want to sew on. We don't want to go around sewing directly into the bobble. That would not look good in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and do these front post, back post stitches, and I'll meet you guys back to show you what the sweater looks like with a sleeve attached to it. And then we're going to go into actually prepping the armhole and attaching our sleeve. When you fasten off this sleeve, you're going to want to leave yourself a very long tail, at least twice the circumference of the opening of the sleeve. So enough yarn to wrap around this twice loosely, or maybe 2 feet of yarn. Alright, I am at the end of this round, and I'm just going to close it with a simple slip stitch like so, and I'm going to chain 1 to fasten off. Like I said, about 2 feet of yarn should do, or just having the ability to wrap this tail around this large arm opening twice should be sufficient. So I'm just going to snip that off and finish fastening off, and we can set this to the side. I will warn you that we will be flipping this inside out, so you might want to go ahead and do that now as we prep for the sewing process. Alright, so as you guys can see, I've already gone about sewing the first sleeve onto the body, and I prepped the armhole. If you guys watched the sneak peek last week, you'll have seen some of my tips on how I went about doing that. But I will be going over those tips again in this video, so no worries on that. What I want to do now is come on over to this left hand side and seam up the side, as well as prep the armhole for the sewing process. So without further ado, let's get back to the craft table. Okay. Alright guys, I want to show you the side where I have the sleeve first. So what I did was I went in about an inch from the very edge of my work after I turned it on the wrong side. So currently I have my entire piece inside out. I went in about an inch or a half inch and I slip stitched the seam together. That way in the future, if I wanted to take this in or something or repair it for any reason, I could easily just clip a couple of lines and pull it out and redo it. It was also just simpler than trying to sew it together with a needle. I also left a split at the hem. I find that I quite liked how that looked, so I'm going to be leaving that just like that on the other side as well. And then up here you can see I just attached, well, I crocheted directly into the piece, and we'll get to that after we seam up the other side of our work. So let me turn this guy around. Alright, so here I have the unfinished side of my work, and you can see that I have a few strings here and there. This one is attached to the work from when I bound off, and it just so happens to be long enough for me to do my seaming with, so I'm going to be using that. Or you can alternatively use a fresh strand from your skein of your dominant color. Like I said, mine is red, so I figured that would blend in nicely. And the important thing here is you want to make sure your edges line up. So just take that little extra time, make sure they're lined up so you don't have a weird buckling in your fabric after you've seamed this whole thing together. After you have lined everything up, you can grab your crochet hook, and we're going to be working right into the stitches, so there's no specific spot in the stitch for you to stick your crochet hook. But just like I said, make sure your edges are lined up so you don't have a bad looking seam later. Okay, so I just kind of punched through that first line of stitches, and I yarned over, pulled up a loop from my tail, and I'm going to go about doing this for each line of color. And that's kind of why I like seaming with this stitch pattern, because you have an easy kind of trail to follow. Just punching in your crochet hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. And we're going to slip stitch all the way down to this last row of red down here right before we get to the green. Alright, and as we are coming down to the end of our fabrics, I want to make sure that I start working toward the edge a little bit more as I go down, so that when I get to the very bottom, I can fasten that off with a single crochet and then chain one. So I'm probably 2 to 3 inches away from my stopping point. And so I'm just going to gradually start punching my crochet hook, not directly on the edge, but close to it, like a couple stitches in. Alright, and now that I'm at the bottom, I'm making sure that my hook is going through the bottom part of those red single crochets on both sides. And then I'm going to make that slip stitch, and then I'm going to insert my hook right through that stitch on the edge on both sides. I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1. The tail is a little longer than I needed. Alright, and now I have seamed my side down, and I can come up to the top and start working on the armhole. You'll want to make sure that you weave in any ends that you have remaining down here so they don't get tied in later. Alright, here's where things get fun. We are now going to work on shrinking this armhole down. So on my pattern, there are 88 stitches here, and obviously that's way too big considering that I have 58 stitches around the big part of my arm for my sleeve. So I will be doing a series of decreases for this part. Let's kind of move that out the way. I want to start with my white yarn here, and I'm going to be working directly in this quote-unquote stitch where the armpit of the sweater is. I always do this in my garment patterns. I don't care what kind of top I'm making, because if by chance you goof up or make any kind of mistake, you want it to be where it's underneath the arm. Okay, so what we're going to do is a very simple row here. I'm going to attach this yarn just by inserting my hook right in there. That's not really a stitch, but because we have threads that we seamed through there, it catches like it is a stitch. So we are going to chain 1 to secure, and we are going to place a single crochet into that same space that we made a chain 1. Now we are going to work all of these stitches with a single crochet until we get to the corner area that makes that right angle to go up the straps. Okay, I want to stop here where I have a stitch, I have this little corner area, and then we start going up the side of the strap here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this stitch marker out of my way, and then we are going to do 3 single crochet together to create a decrease. So that is insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 2 loops on your hook. Going to insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. And then we are going to look at this little stitch here, and we are just going to work straight through the side of that stitch. So I just want to work as neatly as possible there. And we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. We have 4 loops on our hook, and now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on our hook. Alright, and now we are going to single crochet all the way up to the top seam of our sweater. Alright, now that I have reached the top, I'm just going to insert my hook through there, through the middle like I did at the underarm, and I'm going to create a single crochet there. Now I'm going to turn this whole thing around. And start working back down the strap in a similar fashion, and I'm going to stop 1 row above the stitch marker that I have placed over there, or rather the corner, if you didn't use stitch markers. Just working directly through the center of these outer stitches, going up the side here. Alright, again we are at the corner. Can take out this stitch marker, and I still have a stitch that I can work into. There is the direct corner right there, and then I'm going to work into the stitch after that with a decrease. So again, that is insert your hook into that next stitch. Oops, yarn over, pull up a loop. Insert your hook into that corner stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. And then insert your hook into that first horizontal stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So you have 4 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on your hook. Alright, and now we are back in the safe territory where we can just work in regular stitches. We are going to single crochet until we get back to that first single crochet of this round, and we are going to close it off with a slip stitch. Also, a word of the wise, you might want to work these armholes before you attach a sleeve, because this is quite a bit of fabric to move around in your lap while you're working. Alright, and we are going to slip stitch into the top of that single crochet from the beginning of the row. Just like that. And this is what round 1 looks like. Now, to move on to round 2, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1. We're going to single crochet into the base of that chain 1. Then we are going to single crochet into each stitch around and close with a slip stitch. So I'll meet you guys back for that. Alright, so in round 1 of this armhole, we took our stitch count from 88 to 86. Now that we've done a round of just plain single crochet, now we want to take that stitch count from 86 down to 69. So in order to do that, we're going to, of course, close our previous round with the slip stitch. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to insert our hook and make a single crochet into the base of that chain 1. We're going to make a single crochet in the next stitch, and into the next stitch. And into the next stitch. And then we are going to create a decrease, or a 2 single crochet together. So that is, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay? And then we start our repeat for the round. So we are going to create a decrease in every 4 stitches. Every 4 stitches. So we are going to make a single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 2, 3, and 4. Now in the next 2 stitches we are going to do 2 single crochet together. So again, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. In the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And we're going to do this all the way around until we reach the end of our row. Okay, I have made my last single crochet of my round, and I'm going to slip stitch in the top of that single crochet from the beginning of the row, and I'm going to chain 1. Now on to, I believe, round 4, we are going to insert our hook into the base of that chain 1 and create a single crochet, and then we are going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. I like making my garment decreases in this way, alternating rows of decreases and rounds of just regular stitches, because it makes the decrease in stitches less intense as opposed to just decreasing row after row after row. It makes it look really weird to me. Now some cases that's appropriate, I think, but in the case of armholes and neck holes and things like that, I don't typically do that. But alright, I'm going to single crochet all the way around here, and I'll meet you guys back at the end of the round. Alright, I'm ready to move on to the next round, and I've already chained my 1 here. So what I'm going to do is single crochet into the base of that chain 1. Now I want to make mention, we have 69 stitches here and we're trying to get down to 58, so we will be decreasing this round by 11. So what I do here is I will be single crocheting into the next 2 stitches, just 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to make a single crochet decrease, so that's 2 single crochet together. Okay, and that is my first decrease of the round. So I need to do 10 more of these. So what I'm going to do is single crochet into the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to make another decrease. And I'm going to continue to do this until I have a total of 11 decreases. And I just made my 11th one. Alright, so once you have all 11 of your decreases, you are simply going to single crochet 1 in each stitch until the end. Alright, I'm coming to the end here. I'm going to close the round with a slip stitch to the first single crochet of the round. Get rid of the stitch marker. Oops, there we go. Alright, now I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to single crochet into the base of that chain 1. And then you guessed it, we're going to do just an entire round of single crochet. And I'll meet you guys back when I have finished this round. Alright, and now I am going to slip stitch to the first single crochet of the row, and I'm going to chain 1 to bind off. Now this tail doesn't have to be super long because we will be sewing our sleeve to our armhole now. So you want to find yourself a darning needle of some sort, and we're going to grab our other sleeve. And I leave this tail on the armhole here as kind of a marker for the moment. I'm going to be removing the stitch markers from my sleeve. Alright, so I have threaded my darning needle with the very long tail that I have attached to my sleeve, and I kind of want to position the sleeve where the stitches line up with the armhole. Okay, and I'm going to take this darning needle and let's see if I zoom in here if it'll be helpful. I'm going to take it directly down into the stitch where the tail is coming out of. I'm going to let it run out one row below the top of the armhole. There we go. Alright, and making that first connection with that armhole. Now, what I like to do, I pull it down one row below because I don't like to attach my sleeves to the very edge of things if I'm not just crocheting it directly onto the piece, which in this case we did not. So I will stay along this first row of single crochet, and I will wiggle my needle through those back legs of the single. Alright, after running my needle through those back legs of that single crochet, I can just go about pulling this tail through those stitches, and I like to do it this way because you can't see this on the front side of the work, which also helps, again, which is why I start at the armpit or underneath where you don't typically see stitches, because if you mess up here in the first couple of stitches, it's not visible on the right side of the work. Or it's underneath the arm where nobody sees it. So, alright, now I'm going to, look at my sleeve, and I'm going to insert my hook under those, under the V of that double crochet that is the next stitch, and I'm now going to pull my tail through that. And it might seem like a whip stitch with extra steps, but I promise you the result is worth it. Alright, now that I have pulled my tail through that stitch, I'm going to move on to the next single crochet. I'm just kind of wiggle my needle through those two back legs of that stitch right there. Pull the tail through. And then run my needle up into that next stitch along my sleeve. And this is how I went about tacking down the other sleeve. that's off camera. It might seem like a tedious process, but slow and steady wins the race, and the end result looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. So you're just going to continue on in this way, and as you continue to seam together this sleeve, things get easier and it seems like you move a lot faster. So just be patient. We can kind of look here. I can show you what I was talking about. If you look here, you cannot see your stitching on the front side of the work. So I really love that about this method, and I use it pretty often, like I said, if I'm not directly crocheting or knitting a sleeve onto a piece. Alright, so I'm just going to demo that again. We're going to take our darning needle, run it through those 2 back legs of the single crochet, pull it through, and then we are going to find our next set of V's, our next stitch, along our sleeve, insert our hook, and pull it through. And that seams together your stitches. Now you will find that I pull to kind of cinch that, because I do want my sleeve to be pretty close, like very, very closely sewn into the armhole, but at the end I do go in and I kind of wiggle things and I loosen it up so that it's not too tight for my arm to fit through. Alright, I'm going to continue this process all the way around this sleeve, and I'll meet you guys back when I have finished. Okay, that was a lot of crocheting. I don't know about you guys, but my hands are tired. I am going to take a couple days break, and then I'm going to jump into kind of designing the neckline. I've done several types of necklines over the years, but I'm just kind of indecisive right now. So that is to be seen for next weekend. Thank you for making it to the end of part 2 of my design along. I am so excited to wear this for Christmas. I just am. I'm loving how it's turning out, and I love how the sleeves ended up coming about. So if you enjoyed this video, please, please, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this video with all your crafty friends. Maybe somebody else wants to make an ugly Christmas sweater along with us. The more, the merrier. Don't forget to check me out on my other social media. I'm kind of on everything, but I'm most active on Instagram. So if you want to see whip and in-between pictures over there, that's where you'll find them. Also consider signing up for my email list over on the website, so you don't miss out on my future crafty content. I post not a heck of a lot, but I've been posting more lately, especially as I've had more free time to just chat about the crafts and stuff that I've been up to behind the scenes that maybe I don't get to make videos about. I'm also considering putting all these videos together for a solid tutorial for the paid version of this pattern, which will be available in my shops. On my different platforms. Let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see that kind of thing going on. I've kind of taken to adding video tutorials to my written patterns, because some people read the written pattern better and need a little supplement, or some people just like full-on video, so I kind of have both into one. We've been experimenting with it. Let me know in the comments down below, and until next time guys, happy making.